Carissa, welcome to my free little mini course. I'm going to be sharing with you how I took a tanning and hair extension home salon that I started from home when I was 21 years old into a chain of 5 stores, and those 5 stores all ran without me working in them by the time I was 25 years old. And then how I built a $1 million a year online coaching business by the age of 32, all by using Facebook and Instagram. Gonna make this full screen. So I want this short mini course or little video series to make you at least $1,000 from watching it. That's my goal for you. I know that you're super busy. You're probably really stressed out with everything that's going on in your own personal life right now too. So let's make watching this worth it for you. Every time you see one of these slides that has this money bag symbol on it, this is like actionable advice that could make you a lot of money. So I'm just going to kind of go through it as quickly as I can for you because I know you're busy. I am going to start with part one, which is mindset, thoughts, and what was going through my head as I was growing the business, because that is literally where all your results or lack of results are going to come from as a business owner. And you probably know this already, but when you're feeling good and you're motivated, you believe in yourself, you're inspired, everything things just happen and things grow. And whenever you're doubting yourself, you're feeling bad, you don't think you're good enough, or everything's too hard or whatever, then nothing happens and you just stay in that place forever. So I have always had a lot of ideas. I am an ideas person. I am definitely ADHD, and what's known as a visionary entrepreneur. There was one time, side story, I took myself to a psychologist because I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? I'm crazy. And she was like, no, you're a creative entrepreneur, and all creative entrepreneurs that have a lot of ideas and visions are a little bit crazy, and it's fine. Just channel it in the right direction. And that was probably some of the best advice I was ever given. So I get whole visions for what things will look like in businesses, with mostly my own businesses, other people's businesses, marketing strategies, ads, brands, etc. I also used to daydream a lot in class. And right now, my 9-year-old son is getting the same kind of feedback from his teacher. I'm like, he'll be fine. So from the moment I had the idea in my head to start my tanning business from home, I could see it already done in my head, like exactly what I wanted it to look like. When I had the idea, I remember vividly sitting at my desk in a day job. I was working as a graphic designer at a signage and print company. Every time the phone rang, I swore at it in my head. I was like, fucking stop calling me. Like, I'm just over it. And I needed something else to do that was just for me. I had $800 in my bank account. I had become addicted to getting a spray tan every week or every second week at that point. And I had the idea of like, I'm going to start a spray tanning business from home. I went to eBay. I spent my $500 on a tanning kit, with the tent and the machine and the solution and everything. And then I started a MySpace page and I started adding friends. I started finding girls around the local area, friends of friends, anyone that I could. And I started trying to grow as big an audience as I could to let people know that I was doing spray tans. This is back when MySpace was a thing. This was before Facebook. Showing my age, I know, but I loved that time. It was fun as hell. So I started offering really like free tans to start with, but not for very long, and then just really cheap tans for a while so that I could practice and just get people in and get good at it. I never actually did a course. I just watched some YouTube videos and was like, I got this. I can figure it out. um so I wanted to make a lot of money. My goal at the time was, one, I loved spray tans, but I wanted to make as much money as I could so that I could quit my day job and work for myself. It wasn't a bad job. It's just that I am an unemployable type of person, and I get really bored really quickly if anything's too repetitive or if I don't get to use my creativity. So that job in some ways was okay, some ways not. Anyway, I cared a lot about what people thought of me as well. And when I started my business, that was like one of my main obsessions, was like, I need everyone to love me. I need everyone to love my business. I need to, like, my tans, I need to do the best job I possibly can because my reputation is so important, what people say about me, etc. I wanted to give them the best tan that they'd ever had. I had had a few different spray tans myself at other different places, and there was always something I didn't like about it. So I was like, no, my tan's going to be the best. I wanted to make them feel really good about themselves. I wanted to make them just love themselves with the tan that I did. I wanted them to get addicted to spray tans like I had become, and I wanted them to come back every single week so that they would keep paying me. So I wasn't just always looking for new clients. Every single new client that I got, I was like, you're going to be addicted to this and you're going to come back forever. So that was a mindset thing. And I told everyone that came in, like when they were checking themselves out in the mirror afterwards, they were like, oh my God, I look so good. They'd be like, oh, you can look like this all the time if you get one every week. I get them every week. Here's a loyalty card. Naturally I'm really white. Everything looks better with a tan, just really talking it up from the heart because I believed it. So it's really easy to do when you're obsessed with it. And that worked so well. And I just started getting like almost such a high percentage of people coming back regularly over and over again. And so my business grew quite quickly from that. So that's a little tip you can take away if you're not already trying to tell people like, you can look like this all the time. Your results are going to be amazing. Like talk it up for them. My dog's just come in to roll around on the carpet. So that's happening. I was really excited and enthusiastic about tanning when I first started. I was so obsessed with making sure that they looked and felt great. And I was really empathetic and curious. I asked people a lot of questions about themselves. I really wanted to get to know everyone. I really wanted to make them feel really comfortable and good about themselves once again, because I'd had some bad experiences with tanning and hair and beauty salons where I felt either really rushed or really uncomfortable. And I didn't want my clients to feel like that. And I knew that some people were very self-conscious about taking their clothes off in front of a stranger, or they're worried that it was going to go orange or patchy or whatever. So there was a lot of like love and reassurance that went into that as well. It was really easy for me to tell people that they should get one every week because I got one every week too, right? I was my own ideal client. I was also business strategy wise, providing a very in-demand service. At the time, spray tans were really, really popular. And I was in an area where there was a high volume of people who were ideal clients. And I was obsessed with getting my name out there. I was obsessed with building a brand. I was obsessed with building an audience of people who knew my business. One of my goals, one of my visions was to be like one of the best well-known spray tan people in my area. I wanted to have a large following on social media. I just wanted to be busy as hell all the time. So money bags here. If you want to make a lot of money, you have to have a service that you're selling right now that's really popular and in demand. It changes. Markets change. Sometimes what used to be popular isn't anymore. If you have a service that's really popular and in demand and people are searching for it right now, go all in on promoting that and make sure there are a lot of people who want that service. You need a hungry crowd, people who are just looking for it. All right. So within approximately a year, I was booked out every day after work, like until 9-10 p.m, tanning every night, and on weekends. I don't think I did Sundays, but Saturday mornings I definitely did, or Saturdays all day sometimes. And I started to lose money throughout the days because I couldn't answer my phone. I couldn't do text messages because I had a job. I was in my 9 to 5. And there was a lot of text messages that I couldn't get back to, and people were getting annoyed. So this was the point where I was like, okay, I think it's time for me to change. I had done a really basic website, but really cute, really cool. And people were finding me through my website and my MySpace. So I did the scary thing that we all do at some point, and I quit my job and I opened a salon as well. So I had my business from home for a while, but then I was like, no, I'm going to take this to the next level. Found a space I could rent that I could afford, and open that up. I did have a backup plan, and here's an important thing. So I like to take a lot of risks, but I always have a backup plan because I don't want to get myself into a bad situation. So if it failed, I was just going to get another job in graphic design. And if I couldn't afford the rent, I would get another side job so that I could afford the rent for the shop because I signed a 12-month lease. So I was prepared. I had a plan for the worst so that I wasn't scared. If that happened, I had a backup plan. I was really excited to go on an adventure and take a risk and see what happened though. I just like to try things and see what happens. So shortly after opening the first salon, somebody dropped in a resume. A girl came in She already knew how to do hair extensions. She'd taken a course. I had started offering hair extensions as well by that point, and this is where I had my next vision. So my first vision was to like get busy enough to make my own money, quit my job, open a shop. Then my vision changed in this moment. I wasn't looking for staff at all. I then had this little daydream of, well, if I had someone else doing the extensions and I trained her to do the tans, then I could just do the social media posts and the online marketing and update my website and stuff, which was my favorite little geeking out part. I loved that. And that was also what was keeping the customers coming in. And then I didn't have to do the work doing the tans and doing the extensions. And then I could actually do the social media and stuff from home or from anywhere. And I started thinking I could be, at my favorite cafe doing posts and talking to people online. I could travel the world. I could like do whatever I wanted and have this business just making me money, and I could just go in and like collect the cash. That's the literal vision that I had that popped into my head. Sounds too good to be true, because we'll get there in a second. But it did work. I trained her to do all the things the same way that I did them. And I introduced her to all the clients, and I talked her up and I told them how great she was, because she was literally great and everyone loved her. Every single new client that booked in, instead of booking them in with me, I booked them in with her. So they didn't even know me as the owner of the business. I wanted to be the owner. I didn't want everyone to just want me to do their services all the time. My vision was to remove myself from the business as much as I could. So I kept working in the salon though during the after hours, and I got her to do the days, but that means I wasn't working 12-hour days anymore or longer. And then I had the idea, well, I could just repeat this and do the same thing again. I can afford to hire someone, like one spray tan covers 1 hour of somebody's wage, and we do multiple spray tans an hour and hair extensions an hour. So it just makes sense to do that. So I hired another girl and I trained her to do the late night appointments. And then all of a sudden I didn't have to go in there at all. So within 6 to 12 months of having my first shop, I then had 2 girls working in it without me needing to be there. I also systemized everything exactly how it needed to be done. That took a while. That was like just refining and refining and refining and refining in a manual. But I gave them full trust and responsibility to run everything, because in my day jobs, my first job was in an IGA and then in the graphic design business, my bosses always just trusted me to open up and run everything by myself, and I always just did it. So I was like, well, if you're a boss, if you're a business owner, your employees should be able to just run the business for you. So that's what I did. I had massive issues with both of them. One, we were all really friggin' young. I was only like 21, 22 at that point. They were both 18 or 19. We all didn't really know what we're doing. It was their first job as well. But I did have massive issues with both of them. I take full responsibility for that, though, because it turns out you need to manage people and you need to lead people. And I didn't know that back then. And I also learned that many humans are extremely selfish, and they would try and cut corners if you're not looking, or if they think you don't care enough. So this was my first lesson in that. Neither of them worked out in the end, but it still worked. And I didn't let this stop me and go back to doing things myself. So something that I see a lot is like, a lot of people will have these bad experiences with staff and they literally just give up and go back to doing things themselves. I say it's the same as relationships. If you've dated like a lot of people that didn't work out, some people just give up on dating and just stay single forever. There are good people out there and you can always try again. That's what I believe. So I held my vision strong. I was not going to let this stop me. I didn't want to go backwards. And I knew the lifestyle that I wanted to live, and I had this vision for what I was building. I wanted to grow it even bigger. So I had already achieved this. Why couldn't I do it again to start with? But then if I had it working in one shop, I could also have 2 shops, 3 shops, like multiple locations with 2 or 3 girls working in them, running them. So then that became my new vision. It just started expanding and getting bigger. And I knew that I could just try again with some new staff and do it differently the second time around. So I really believe that nothing is permanent and everything is changing all of the time. And you can always try again, and you can always do things better, and you can always learn from every mistake and problem that happens in your life. So I provided all their training. I put ads out there to hire more people. I made the instructions even better. I improved them on how to do the job. I had written instructions, I had photo instructions, I had video instructions, I had how long everything should take to do correctly. I had like sign in and sign out processes. I had like whoever took over their shift had to check off the other person's jobs and make sure that everything was done right before they left and that kind of thing. I really got to know everyone's personalities. I got to know their strengths. I got to know their weaknesses. I got to know what motivated them in life and what they wanted in life. And I made sure that I had the right people in the right roles. I wanted to make sure that the job was good for the staff member as well as the staff member was good for the job. I knew that this would take practice to get good at, but I also knew that if other people and other businesses could do it, because I knew they were out there, right? I'd seen them, especially working in signage and design and promotional stuff. I was working with heaps of really big, well-known companies and franchises. So I saw that they were successful. So I knew that it was possible. So I was just, if they can do it, then I can do it. I just have to figure it out. I was very optimistic and very delusional. But it worked. It ended up working. I made heaps of mistakes though. Just having a sip of water. I lost a bunch of staff along the way. Some staff members I trained up really, really well, and then they started their own businesses with everything that I taught them, and they tried to steal and take my clients. I know a lot of people who that's happened to before as well. I had some really amazing girls work for me too that stuck with me for years, and that was so good that like I could just leave overseas for like a month or so, and like one person quit in that time and she just put an ad out, interviewed people, hired and trained a new person while I wasn't even there. There's really good people out there too. So I learned a lot about people. I was always learning from my mistakes and always trying to improve. One of my mistakes, but also don't regret it. It's a part of my life experience. I used to go out almost every weekend because my boyfriend at the time was a DJ. We used to do a lot of drugs and drinking, and it really started to take a toll on me and my mental health at one point growing this business as well. I was also in several emotionally abusive relationships and friendships, not surrounded by the best people for me, and I became very depressed and very anxious at one point. That was very low for me and it was very hard, but I was still obsessed with my brand. I was still obsessed with my business and my vision, and I kept going, and I think that's what kept me going at some points. For anyone who's curious where my salons were, my first one was in Sunnybank Hills, then I had one in Mount Gravatt, then I had one in East Brisbane, then I had one in Fortitude Valley, and then I had one in Surfers Paradise, all within Queensland, Gold Coast, Brisbane area. Some other things that I did was I had my own wholesale range of Russian hair extensions that I imported. It took me about 2 years to find a supplier that I actually loved and was good. And then I used to import heaps at a time, had a whole wall covered in hair and sell it to other hair salons all around the world. I didn't just stick to Australia. I sold it internationally. Thanks to Facebook ads, I just had ads running. And I would get a lot of inquiries and end up sending, samples or discounted first packets and things like that, and then ended up with heaps of regular suppliers around the world. I started like a little mini franchise at one point, and I sold online training and tanning kits under my own brand, which was called Hot Stuff Beauty. I had 5 to 6 girls around Australia doing mobile tanning for me. That ended up being more challenges than it was worth, so I didn't continue that, but that was fun. I started providing training and certifications in my signature hair extension method, which was called micro tape. It was little like mini tapes, really good for people with really fine hair like myself. And then those girls would continue to buy hair from me once they'd done the training. So always coming up with ideas to make money and always following them. I was able to start all these other businesses though and expand so much because I had removed myself from the day-to-day operations and serving the clients in the business. If I was still working in my business doing the tans and doing the hair extensions, and if I had never removed myself from that, I wouldn't have been able to do any of these other things because my time would have been all taken up. My energy would have been all taken up. I didn't have any time to daydream. I didn't have any time to research, didn't have any time for the marketing. So my job became to work on my business and on building my brand and on making more money full time. That was my job. That was my role. Every idea I had that could grow my brand and make more money, I would chase it. I would explore it. I would not talk myself out of it, even if it was just research. Research is free. Research doesn't cost you anything. You can Google anything. These days, you can chat GPT anything and it does the research for you. But if it was a good idea and I wanted to try it, I would just try it and test it and make it happen. And then if it worked really well, I would systemize it. So write down instructions of how everything worked. And then I would find the right person to take that over and hire them once it became busy enough and once it became repetitive. Because remember, I'm not good at repetitive things. I'm the visionary and creative, and I need to be coming up with new ideas and things and creating all the time. I also never had a loan, never had a business card, never had a credit card. That's a lie. I had a loan for a car, but I never had a business loan. Never had a credit card. I worked hard and I made sure I was making enough money before I took a new risk every time. So if I wanted to start something new, I wanted to import things, I would always work and make the money first before I spent it. I always was saving money. I always had enough in the bank to feel secure. I was 100% self-made and I never borrowed or asked for help from anyone. Even when I failed, I would just cry and suffer quietly. Looking back now, it's probably not the healthiest strategy, but I also didn't have anyone around me, family or friends wise, that I could go to. So in that sense, I was pretty alone, and it taught me a lot of strength and resilience from all of that trauma. I set money goals for myself when I wanted to invest in new things. So I would figure out like, well, that only cost me 5 spray tans per week. If I get 5 new clients for spray tans coming in every week, then I can cover that. And then I would use social media boosts and I would gain 5 more tanning clients in that week or over 2 weeks or whatever, depending on how the ads went. Usually in a week with tans. And then I would use that money to invest in growing. So that leads me to part 2, which I'm going to do in a second video. So that was a lot of the mindset and what went through my head when I was growing everything. And then I want to share my marketing and strategy with you.